If a person wants to get rid of the wickedness in the world and wants to put an end to terrorism, to war, to anarchy, and it wants to eliminate the communist threat, which was experienced in the 20th century, or if he doesn't want to see the fascist movements in the 20th century, then he has to wage an intellectual struggle against them. And there's only one way to it. If people's minds are washed away with Darwinism, then what we are telling here may not do any good to them. First of all, we have to get engaged in an intellectual struggle and communicate them the situation that they are enjoying right now. We have to communicate them in a scientific sense that Darwinism is a threat. And there is no other way, there is no other method, no other solution in the world to that. Otherwise, wars in the world would never end. The armies of the world would never put an end to their struggle. The methods that have been employed so far have always proved to be unsuccessful, because all these wars, all these struggles have ideological basis, and without making their ideologies collapse, we can never put an end to those acts. That is why if a person wants to get rid of these evil ways, there is only one way that they should employ. The greatest, the most important, the major way to eliminate Darwinism, well, in the evolution theory tells everything in a very primitive way. The fact is, however, every aspect of life is very complicated. There are details of it. Every year, researchers make energy in order to researchers make many experiments in order to find out the details in living beings. Evolutionists simply say that there was a boiling water. That's how they explain the life. And the thunder came into that water, and all of a sudden a living being came into existence. This is how primitive, how simple it is. Now let's take a look at a living cell. Scientists say that a living cell is as complex as a New York City. Indeed, a cell is more complicated than New York City. However, in order to understand the complexity of the cell, such an analogy is made. When we compare a cell in New York City, first of all, the cell is much more complicated than it. The metro system, the highways, the telephone communication system, everything has to be very complicated about that city. The electricity system must be perfect. Not a failure must exist in that system. The railway system must be perfect. The internet system must be perfect. The buildings must be resistant to earthquakes. The skyscrapers must be very strong. Think about the bridges over the rivers. Their supervision must be perfect. And the construction of the skyscrapers, buildings, airports, all kinds of establishments, factories must be perfect. The communication within the airports must be coordinated, airways must be coordinated. Well, these are the things that come to my mind at the first step. So all these systems must be simultaneously coordinated. Just a single failure in these systems would paralyze the whole system, the entire system. So this is not existent within the cell. There is irreducible complexity within the cell. With the nucleus, the organs, the membrane, with every organelle within the cell, there is a complex structure within the cell. Only one organ of the cell is non-comparable to the New York City. So we should understand, realize the great perfection within the cell. And there are 100 trillion cells within our bodies. It is impossible for all this to come into existence by chance. And the fact is, however, I'm talking about the basic foundation of the organ, of an organ. And there's also the story about the protein, how it came into existence.